Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners meeting for May 25th, 2021. Our first order of business will please join me to pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Agenda review. Bob, do you have any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
I'll move the agenda. Landcamer?
Second. Sternberg.
Guess I don't.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries for the agenda review. Welcome everybody back up to our normal seats and moving people around. But
This has been like over a year, hasn't it?
Yeah. I would imagine we can have the staff join us up here, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well at this time we will call on some staff for planning and zoning. We have several items to discuss, so welcome gentlemen.
You guys are lucky, the first ones.
Morning.
Good morning.
That was on the floor. I think I ran point.
Yep.
We're ready to go whenever you guys are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. PC 12-21 is a request from Blue Earth County for an ordinance amendment to Chapter 24, the zoning chapter of the county code, section 24-326, which is the home occupation section. The ordinance amendment updates the standards for the allowable size for level 2 home occupations, parking standards for level 1 home occupations, and the proposed amendment also includes application requirements for both level 1 and level 2 home occupations. At the Planning Commission meeting, both in April and in May, the staff presented the report. At the May Planning Commission meeting, one individual from the public expressed concerns with level 1 home occupations, citing an example in Lime Township where a contractor business is in a residential area and there's multiple people coming to the site every day as well as equipment and stored outside. She also stated the underlying basis for level home or for home occupations is to not be in competition with the business district. She stated that Lime Township looks to Blue Earth County for ordinance amendments and guidance, and there's no other public comment. Just a quick note that Lime Township and Mankato Township do their own planning and zoning, so our rules don't apply there, but their rules have to be at least as restrictive as the county standards. The Planning Commission discussed the proposal, and we had three different options for them for level 1 home occupations, and the Planning Commission decided to keep the level 1 home occupation standards at 500 square feet and 1 outside employee. And there's considerable discussion about having another standard, potentially a level 1A home occupation that would be in between the level 1 and level 2, that would be for agricultural or conservation districts and shoreland of streams. So at that time, or following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation to the county board for unanimously to leave the floor space for 500 square feet for level 1 home occupations and increase the level 2 home occupations to 10,000 square feet. Again, that was a unanimous recommendation, and the board action is adoption of the ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Scott, for that report. At this time, we'll open up for public comment. Anybody wishing to comment, please state your name and address. For the record, if you are on Zoom, please unmute your phone. You can do that by pressing *6. And at this time, I'll take any public comment on PC 1221.
Hi, yes, my name is Jody Swanson, and I will undo my video here if I can. Hi.
Good morning, Jody.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I did speak before the Blue Earth County Planning Commission. I was very...
Jody, could I just have your address real quick? I'm sorry, but could I just have your address? Thank you.
110 Pheasant Drive, Maine.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I'm thankful that the level 1 zoning of the homes, the level 1 home occupation is being left as is. And secondarily, I would encourage my Blue Earth County board to go slowly in expanding the level 2 home occupation. Again, Lime Township, yes, we do have our own zoning. We do look to Blue Earth County in regards to one of the references out there when we make changes. And specifically, I live in a rural residential area, but my two of my borders are not rural residential, in regards to the conservation rural residential. So the level 2 home occupations, would impact, lots of different areas. And just, a couple things that again, the assessors have made this impact. I'm concerned about going from 5,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet, and we still have that being incidental, to a home, where most of our homes are like, per the land use plans, our average home is 1,600 square feet in Blue Earth County, and it's already 5,000 square feet, and we're considering making it 10,000 square feet. Now that may not work in all situations, so I'm asking for that consideration. Again, right specifically behind me, I have a rural conservation area, and that particular home has some large, probably previous ag buildings on it that are quite large. I've never been a problem. There are a lot of cars there. I'm lucky that that's on the other side of the house, not next to my lot line. So I just want to throw that out for your consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jody, for those comments. Is there anyone else wishing to comment on PC 1221, the Blue Earth County Ordinance Amendment? Last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 1221 for Blue Earth County Ordinance Amendment to Chapter 24. Seeing no or hearing no other public comment, I will bring it back to the board for board action.
Move to approve, Schoenberg.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
BAP seconds.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? If it'd be all right, I will just start. I normally don't start as the chair, but I had a nice conversation with Jody yesterday. We talked a little bit about the planning and zoning meeting we had. We spent a lot of time talking about this issue with the level 1 home occupation, which I think we came to an agreement that just the way we were trying to get it done just wasn't going to work, because I certainly support trying to get a little more capacity and a little larger operation in some areas in the shoreland and conservation districts, but I certainly didn't support it around lakes or in rural townships. And I think that's where we kind of got to the point where the language didn't work. So that's the reason why I went back to the 500 square feet for the level 1 home occupation. Level 2 home occupation with the 10,000 square feet, I think some of the reasoning behind that was the fact that a lot of the places we have, and from my memory, I think, was it 13 you said we've only done since 2010, which is a square foot for the building, just because I think it will still fit inside of our land use plan. So other discussion, questions that I can answer after that history lesson? Hearing none, I got a motion and a second for the Blue Earth County ordinance. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. We'll move on to item number 2.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think that's something we can watch in the future.
Yes, yeah, as we always do.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. When we make an amendment or change to our ordinance, the solar ordinance would be a prime example that after we got it done, it just didn't quite fit the way we wanted it to, and so we came back and looked at it again.
Thank you.
PC 13-21 is a request from Bill and Faith Coonrad for review and approval to transfer the residential development right from the southeast quarter of Section 18 Vernon Center Township to the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 18 Vernon Center Township. Properties involved are zoned agricultural. The location address is 14803 507th Avenue, Garden City, Minnesota. Staff presented the report. The applicants were linked into the meeting. They stated that due to the pending split of the property to create a second building site, they desire a second driveway access. There was no public comment. Members of the Planning Commission had no issue with the proposal. The chair suggested to the applicants that their request for a second driveway needs to be worked out with County Public Works Department. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request based on the findings prepared by staff and the conditions proposed. The board action is the resolution. And Mr. Chair, I'll add, I talked with Mr. Tilges from the Public Works Department yesterday, and currently there's a condition in the report to not allow a second access, and he would like to keep that condition in there. He did say that there's some potential to maybe move that existing access a little further north and then construct a new one potentially off a township road for the existing dwelling that's there. So I think there's some possibilities for him there that'll work.
Okay. At this point, we're keeping the condition in there, though, correct?
Correct.
Is that what I mean?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone wishing to comment, please come to the podium or state your name and address for the record. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your phone by hitting *6. Anyone wishing to testify on PC 1321 for Bill and Faith? Anyone wishing to comment on PC 1321, transfer development rights? Last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 1321. Please state your name and address. Hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the county board for action.
I'll move them.
Second?
We got a first and a second for PC 1321. Is there any discussion?
Well, I would just add this, full transparency, this is across the township road from the house I live in or grown up all my life and stuff, so appreciate that. And further transparency, it's my son's in-laws, so certainly Lennox and his soon-to-be new brother or sister would appreciate having grandma that close
Sure.
to theirs, so I see no thing, but I will be watching this as we talk about those roads. I've, again, lived there my whole life, and that's not the best driveway set up with the trees and getting onto Highway 20, that I think there's some things we can do to maybe safeten that as well. But certainly I'm supportive of this, but wanted to make that transparency.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Kevin. And yeah, and Ryan will work with the applicant and try to come to the best resolution for them. I would just soon leave those parameters there so that they can get something done and we don't have to micromanage it at this point. All right, if there's no other comments on PC 1321, I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Garrett.
All right, PC 14-21 is a request from Michael and Cassandra Sack for review and approval of an outdoor shooting range to be used for firearms training class. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 11, McPherson Township. The site address is 18880 623rd Avenue, Janesville, Minnesota 56048. Staff presented the report. Mike behind the shooter has been increased from 6 feet to 10 feet for additional sound deflection. He stated the backstop that stops and retains the bullets has also been expanded. He said he has no intention of offering a public range. He added that the class is 3 hours, of which the range time per student is approximately 5 minutes. Doug Sack asked for clarification on the 12-month review. Staff stated the 12-month review will be conducted by county staff. If the range is being operated as outlined in the business plan and in full compliance with the conditions approved by the county board, the use would not be taken back before the planning commission and county board. If on the other hand, staff felt there is a need to bring it back for review, it would be again reviewed by the planning commission and acted on by the county board. Members of the planning commission had no issue with the proposal. Following the discussion, the planning commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request based on the findings prepared by staff and the conditions proposed. And the board action is the resolution.
Thank you, Garrett. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 1421, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. If you are calling in, please unmute your phone with *6 and give me your name and address. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 1421 from Michael and Cassandra Sack, the shooting range? And last time, anyone wishing to comment on PC 1421 for the shooting range, please state your name and address. Seeing and hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve, Vance. Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion, questions or comments?
One thing we do have a shortage of is shooting ranges in the area. I appreciate this. This is going to be a private shooting range and it's for firearms training classes, but I'm constantly getting calls asking where people can go out and shoot. So I would like to see somebody actually do a public range somewhere. It's, obviously, it's got to follow all restrictions and everything that the county has, but that would be I think it would be a positive thing for Blue Earth County. But this is very positive. One thing I always tell people, if you're going to carry a firearm, make sure you're trained for it, and this is a positive thing.
Well, thank you for those comments, Commissioner, because there was some discussion about, well, in every conditional use permit, is there a need? And so that's good to hear that you're hearing that there's a need for something like this. And this is going to be a good program. Any other comments from the board? Okay, I got a motion and a second for PC 1521. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
PC 15-21 is a request from Mark and Lindsay Schul for review and approval of a conditional use permit to transfer the residential development right from the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 36 DeCoria Township to the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 36 DeCoria Township. The properties are zoned agricultural. Staff presented the report. The applicant was linked into the meeting. He stated they own the sending and receiving quarter sections and that his son will move into the existing home. There was no other public comment. Members of the Planning Commission had no issue with the proposal. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request based on the findings prepared by staff and the conditions proposed, and the board action is the resolution.
Thank you, Garrett. And I did just say that we approved 1521, so you might want to make that adjustment. I think did I say 1521 at the last one or not? Just to make sure. I was already on that page, so we'll check the minutes when we get that far. All right, so at this time we are talking about PC 1521 for the transfer development rights. Anyone like to testify, please state your name and address for the record and unmute your phone with *6. Anyone wishing to comment on 1521 for Mark and Lindsley Schul for the transfer of the development rights? And last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 1521. Seeing and hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Pat moves approval.
Langhammer seconds.
Got a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Questions or comments? This is one of the items that we're going to try to get done at the staff level, so we're going to see that come through because it is pretty much just a staff-driven item, and it's just cumbersome for our constituents to have to go through this process. It'll still go through the same process, it just won't come to us anymore, so we'll see that in the future, hopefully. If there's no other discussion on 1521 for Mark and Lindsay Schul, the transfer of the development rights, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Garrett.
PC 16-21 is the next item. It's an application from Andrew and Beverly Miller. It's a request for review and approval of an interim use permit to cut approximately 1,000 cubic yards of material for the purpose of digging a pond. Approximately 500 cubic yards of material will be used to build a berm around the pond. The project is in the part of the northeast quarter, section 10, DeCoria Township. The site address is 19002 589th Avenue in Mankato. At the Planning Commission meeting, staff presented the report, and there was no public comment. Members of the Planning Commission had no issues with the proposal, and following discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request based on the findings prepared in the staff report and the conditions proposed, and the board action is a resolution.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 1621? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 1621 for Andrew and Beverly Miller? Please state your name and address for the record. And last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 1621. Hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the county board for action.
Stumer moved to approve.
Do I have a second?
Peepo seconds.
I got a motion and a second for PC 1621. Is there any discussion?
Be nice on a hot day.
Yeah. If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
All
Thanks, Scott.
PC 1721 is another application from Blue Earth County. It's an ordinance amendment to Chapter 24, the zoning section of the county code, and it's for solar energy systems to change the setbacks for large solar energy systems to dwellings to 200 feet for systems that are proposed in the highway business, general business, light industry district, or heavy industrial district. And it's also a request to modify the uses, which is in section 24-112. It's to make large solar energy systems that are in the agricultural district to classify them as interim uses. When we did the ordinance amendment last summer, we inadvertently left that out and had them as conditional uses. So in every other district, they're interim uses other than the ag district. So this will simply correct that error and change the setbacks for systems that are proposed in the industry and general business districts to that 200 feet. In the ag and conservation district, it'll still be 750 feet from a dwelling to the large solar energy system. And at the Planning Commission meeting, staff presented the report, and there were two emails that were in support of the proposal that were sent to the county. An individual representing a solar energy company was also at the meeting and addressed the Planning Commission. She stated that she supports the proposed amendment and stated that if approved, the amendment would allow her company to apply for permits at the site where a solar garden currently wouldn't be allowed because of that setback. She stated the vast majority of Xcel Energy infrastructure is at capacity, and as a result, Xcel cannot pursue additional solar energy gardens in the vast majority of the county without major upgrades to the distribution lines and substations. And she added that the setbacks within the business and industrial districts are further limiting the feasibility of solar energy gardens within the county. There was no other public comment, and following discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for the approval of the proposed amendment based on the findings prepared in the staff report, and the board action is adoption of an ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Scott. At this time, is there anyone wishing to comment on PC 1721 for Blue Earth County Solar Energy System Standards? Please state your name and address for the record, and if you're calling in, unmute your phone with *6.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Hi, thank you for this opportunity to speak to the Board of Commissioners for their time and to the Planning and Zoning staff for bringing this amendment forward. My name is Kate Larkin, and I'm with One Energy Renewables, a solar energy developer interested in working in Blue Earth County. My company has developed over 250 megawatts of operating or in construction solar projects nationally, including 15 megawatts in Minnesota. I support Blue Earth County's proposal to amend the solar energy system standards to reduce the setbacks from dwellings required for solar energy systems from 750 feet to 250 feet within business and industrial zones. This amendment would allow me to proceed with an application to Blue Earth County for a community solar garden on land owned by a Blue Earth County resident and cannot comply with the current solar ordinance solely due to the 750-foot dwelling setback. I agree with Blue Earth County staff's assessment that the 750-foot setback is out of proportion for properties zoned as business or industrial, especially given that more impactful uses like junkyards and manufacturing would only be required to meet a 50-foot setback in the same zones. I further support this amendment because according to Excel's published and publicly available hosting capacity map, which I can share a link to, the vast majority of Excel's distribution infrastructure in the county is already at capacity. Community solar gardens rely on this infrastructure to distribute energy generated, which means Excel in the solar industry cannot pursue additional community solar gardens within the vast majority of Excel's territory within the county without costly upgrades to distribution lines or substations. As such, the dwelling setbacks applied within the business and industrial zones are further limiting the feasibility of community solar gardens, despite being located in areas that Excel would prefer, and despite solar being appropriate use for the business and industrial zones. For these reasons, I kindly ask that the Board of Commissioners approve this amendment, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Caitlin. I might have missed your address. Could I have your address, please?
Of course. My business address is 2003 Western Avenue, Suite 225, Seattle, Washington, 98121. We also do have a Madison, Wisconsin office, but I just don't have the...
No, that's fine. We just need something for the record. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. At this time, is there anyone else wishing to comment on PC 1721 for the Blue Earth County Solar Energy System Standards? And last time, for anyone wishing to comment on PC 1721 for Blue Earth County? Seeing and hearing no other public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Landcamer moves approval.
Do I have a second?
Hap seconds.
Second, thank you. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Just a comment. I think this is great, and I'm a big proponent of solar, so I'm glad we're changing that piece of the ordinance.
Other comments? Yeah, it's a very good point, Colleen. And this, again, this is just how we adapt and make things work. We weren't aware that this would be an issue, and it was, and we all support solar, and staff was able to get this done. So, if there's no other comments, I got a motion and a second for PC 1721 for Blue Earth County. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and all your work.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, at this time we will move on to County Ditch 50 bid award. Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Good morning.
Welcome up to the
Yes.
table.
Oh, yeah, it's good to be back. Okay, today we have a award bid for repairs in County Ditch 50. County Ditch 50 is a 5,000-acre watershed located in Lincoln Townships. The Blue Earth County Drainage Authority made findings and order approving repairs to County Ditch 50 on March 23rd, 2021. Project engineer Chuck Brandel of ISG prepared and advertised for bids for the repairs. Bids were opened on May 4th, 2021. There were a total of 6 bidders with the low bid of $199,156.14 coming from Precision Farm Drainage and Excavating LLC from St. James, Minnesota. The engineer's estimate was $193,832.59. The engineer examined the bids and has verified references. The engineer received positive feedback from the references. The requested action, the engineer recommends that the Blue Earth County Board, acting as the Drainage Authority for County Ditch 50, award the contract for repair of County Ditch 50 to Precision Farm Drainage and Excavating LLC in the amount of $199,156.14.
Thank you, Craig. Do I have a motion to accept the bid?
Hap moves.
Studer, second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion or questions? We've heard this once or twice before in passing, so good to get the project done. If there's no questions, I got a motion and a second for Precision. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
See you this afternoon. Human Services, is Phil in the building?
Ryan is. Well, we're waiting for,
I can jump in real
yeah,
quick.
this
I
is quick.
guess, yeah, we could, you just got a bid you got to get done,
Yes,
Ryan?
sir.
Yep, let's do that.
All right.
Promise to be fast.
I'll do
He-
my best.
This morning, I got a question at the Airport Commission about County Road 41.
Yes.
And he was back to me like in 2
Oh.
minutes, so they were very impressed with how quick you were.
I think
good to hear.
we are blessed to have all of our staff react to us very quickly.
Quick at it. He's pretty quick at it.
The staff's quick, but we apparently aren't.
Yeah, yeah.
We should
Yeah.
be done. Ryan,
Sometimes-
go ahead.
Thanks.
No comment. All right. Just one action item today, consideration of bids for state aid project 007601-018. This is our county state aid Highway 1, Old Minnesota Highway 66, that last full reconstruction piece from 9 to 90. Get this one off of our list would be fantastic. It's a massive project, and as I talked about earlier this month, this is the largest construction contract I think the Public Works Department has ever led. And it's a very complicated project. It has soil nail retaining walls that are a specialty construction item, and then just obviously the topography out there on that segment is very challenging, very limited drainage and access, and geotechnical engineering work associated with it. So the contractor pool, given we were a little late in the season due to some delays beyond our control for structural engineering review from the state. We did update our engineer's estimate to $16.8 million, and bids came in. We only received one bid from Mathewitz Construction Company, but the good news is that it was $15,089,545.19. So it was below our updated engineer's estimate, and it was at about the number that I had been coordinating with the MnDOT State Aid Division for turnback funds. We actually had like 15.6 million for construction in that account, plus some engineering and right-of-way costs. So we're right within the parameters of where we really expected the project to land. The consultants are always a little bit conservative with their estimates.
Sure.
But I would recommend award to Mathewitz Construction Company. Their project management was really good on County Road 1 on the northern segment, and they're a regional contractor that will do a good job for us.
Motion to accept the bid from Mathewitz.
I'll move the Mathewitz.
I'll second.
Got first and second from
15
Mathewitz
million?
Construction. It's alarming. Questions or comments?
See, this includes the finishing work or whatever we need to do with the mound or the artifacts? I don't know.
Yes, so this is, removal and not full removal, but taking off some of the surcharge that was placed down the chute and then along the new alignment segment where we did encounter those artifacts. That's been cleared up and mitigated appropriately. We didn't have to go to a stage 3, big archaeological dig, and we're able to offset with some minor design changes. So it's been an incredibly challenging project, the most challenging phases of projects I think I've ever had the opportunity to work on, and we're at the precipice of being able to deliver hopefully another award-winning construction project. So
Is this going to be the end then for County Road 1?
let's hope so, yes, that's the intent. That's the intent.
Part of the road.
Yep.
This is the last part?
This
so
is the last
once
piece for
this is
full
finished,
reconstruction.
We can,
Yes. Rest easy.
Yeah.
Move on to the next big project.
And I've got to say that, we've been partners with Mathewitz for years, and they do an amazing job. So I'm pretty happy to see that they're jumping on board and taking this. Of course, they got all their equipment out there, so I'm sure that's why some of the costs are lower, because they don't have to do a lot of moving. So, excellent.
All right, other comments? Hearing none. I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Ryan.
Ryan.
Go ahead, Bill and Kelly, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We get to bring it back up to the table again.
See that.
He's getting used to everybody being close.
No, you guys are really close.
Welcome.
Yes. It's scary.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, we stayed far
It
enough
is
away from
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, thank you for hearing us this morning. Excuse me. I do have a couple of action items that I'll start with. First of all, in the Mental Health Center, we have a contract with Melinda Henderson, and this is a pass-through contract buying some of her time from the state. And you'll see in the narrative that her hourly is just over $70, $70.60. And then in addition to that is her benefits and 7% overhead that we pay. And so this has been our standing arrangement with the state for Melinda's time, which is highly valued to us. We are trying to actually increase some of her hours into the future. And you'll see that it equates to almost a half-time FTE and projected at $87,000 for a 12-month period. So we are going to extend that based on the master contract from 2017 if you approve. And secondly, financial assistance, the fraud agreement. This is also something that we've had for a number of years. Through DHS, we get fraud prevention dollars, and the amount is $110,000 to prevent, detect, and eliminate public assistance fraud. And the term is July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2023. And I'm sorry, I did not say the term for Melinda's was contracted through June 30th of '22. And those are my action items, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Do I have a motion to accept the 2 action items?
I'll move them with the correction, noted correction.
Okay. Got a first and a second for the action items. Any questions or comments?
Just a question. The amount for the fraud agreement stayed the same. How long has it stayed the same?
Well, that's a great question, Commissioner. We actually had about half that amount, and through some of our efforts and our performance, we asked that to be increased, and it almost doubled, and that was approximately 3 years ago or something like that.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah, it's really good news, and we're really able to float the full boat. It's one of those cost-effective things where I think we do save money on the other side through Ginger's work, but to have the money that really does cover our costs, that really helps.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for Phil? Okay, I got a motion and a second for the 2 action items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we have some informational discussion items. The first of those being Adult Behavioral Health Unit, 2020 data, and then Children's Mental Health, also 2020 data, and then Kelly has an update for COVID as well. The first slide on adult behavioral health, pretty straightforward, really showing the 5-year comparison of caseloads, and we had a work session on targeted case management and the future changes pending around all of this. Really our bread and butter as far as a lot of our case management services. In adult mental health, you'll hear us talk about SPMI, serious and persistent mental illness. That is our target population, folks with certain diagnoses that fit into that category. Our goal is to really help improve access to medical, social, educational, vocational, and other kinds of interfaces with the community. The coordination of services and the monitoring of those services is also part of our duties. You'll see notes from Julie Moniz at the bottom just about how COVID has impacted a lot of our work here, and obviously most significantly through the use of virtual versus face-to-face meetings. But we have continued to do some face-to-faces through the core of COVID when necessary. And it's, again, a vulnerable population. Some people's functionings are their functionings at different levels, and so some people really do need that more intensive contact, and we need to be with them in order to assess their status. Obviously, with things loosening up, it's easier to try to accommodate the individual needs. Second slide is about our clubhouse, which we're very proud of, Second Step Clubhouse in the Vine Building, and you'll see the 5 bullets, which are really, again, our most important pieces to remember, that we're trying to be supportive, stigma-free. We really rely on our members to co-own the clubhouse with us, and so they staff the clubhouse, they do chores at the clubhouse. Groups and activities are really important to help develop kind of those natural social skills and practical skills. Mental health education, kind of a recovery focus, either with your mental illness or chemical issues or both. And then socialization and community involvement is another emphasis. You'll see a breakdown just in who we're serving. The date ranges from October of 19 through the first part of 2020. That was because of COVID and the clubhouse shutting down is why those are kind of a dated time range. But it does give you some sense of, in an unduplicated count, who is being served at the club. And you'll see in the middle, the 40 to 60-year-olds are kind of the bell of the bell-shaped curve. We have some younger people and some older folks that also are members. The duplicated count, almost 2,000 member visits in that time period. Daily average attendance is 12 individuals, and we still had 5 new members during that time period. There's, again, a note about how this has been a difficult area to try to sustain through COVID just because of the face-to-face things, Vine Building being shut down. They've tried to use telephone and virtual realities to keep up connection with some of our folks, but I think everybody's just so glad to get back together like today here. And I think finally, my last slide, civil commitment on adult mental health or adult behavioral health. Civil commitment, court-ordered treatment if they're at risk of harming themselves or others due to their mental illness, chemical dependency, developmental disability, or sexual dangerousness. And obviously, we work closely with Nicole and Pat on this process, very court-directed process. It starts actually with the pre-petition screening, which is the next section there, and how we investigate to determine whether the individual meets the statutory requirements to proceed down the road of civil commitment. So that's actually the first step, and then we start working with county attorney's office and try to get a lot of other collateral information to determine where this individual's functioning is and if they're at risk without intervention. You'll see the 5-year comparison of raw data, 2016 through 20. There was an increase, and we're certainly feeling that still this year, but 74 in calendar year 2020. You'll see the pie chart break it down, and very low numbers in what we call MIND, mentally ill and dangerous. Very unusual to have a case at that level of concern. Developmental disabilities also very rare. And then you get into where the volume is you look at chemical dependency at 13 of the 74, mentally ill 38 of the 74, and then folks with co-occurring mental illness and chemical dependency being another 20. So I think that's a pretty stable picture of how commitments look year over year. So that's the behavioral health part and adult case management. And the other part for me before I hand it to Kelly is children's mental health. And it actually has some very similar pieces because it's a different population with different needs. There's some uniqueness as well. But in the first narrative paragraph, obviously a mandated service is for us to offer, but it is a voluntary service as far as families who want to engage case management. Here, instead of SPMI, we talk about severe emotional disturbance, or SED. So you'll hear that acronym too. Children's family requests or consents to the service. Again, very similar goals in the very end of that paragraph: mental health, social, educational, health, vocational, recreational services. Second paragraph, the bolded area, as of 5/4 of 21, there were 160 cases assigned or opened for case management in the children's area with 7.5 FTEs. This is the area that I expressed my appreciation, where we did increase that FTE count by 2, which is very significant in every way. It's not showing up fully in the numbers here yet, but you'll see, first of all, the total caseload, which has been fairly stable, especially over the last 5 years. And then average caseload per worker, which when you skip to the third bullet, where target is 15 is statutory caseload. And so we were almost double that in 2018, yeah.
Yet again.
And yeah, and I said, that we'll creep back up, and we will, but I will report to you that Julie offers this up to me week by week, and we dipped all the way down to maybe more like 20, which is a very significant shift for them, and they all felt it. I think they're very grateful for that, but we will click back up. So the number's actually better than it shows here currently, but I'm of course concerned, depending on how the demographics go, what the need in the community is, but that'll just be an ongoing concern. You'll see the request dipped. I think that is definitely because of COVID, but there were 45 new cases opened even during our pandemic, and we also had some case closures. That last bullet is important to me, just that we try to do community-based care, and you'll see that we went from 98, 97 to 95% of our caseload not in facility-based care, and that's important as far as a practice standard. I do believe that kind of went the wrong way because we just didn't have community-based options with COVID, and so it really showed up in this area. And everybody, corrections and ourselves, work real hard to try to keep kids in the community because those transitions are so difficult on the kids and the families going to and from a facility, that we try to avoid it at all costs. But we have some kids with very high level of needs. I used to sit in on those meetings and think, you know, as a boss, you're going to go and say, oh, we don't need to place this kid. I think we place kids that need to be placed. I really do believe that. The key to me is how long they stay in care, that we not, I use the word languish, that they don't languish in care. That's the key, that we keep managing their care and getting them out of there and stepping them back into the community, because we don't want to raise kids in facilities. I mean, that's the bottom line for us. So that's what I had for you today. I'll hand it off to Kelly unless there's any questions.
I have a
Before we
couple
move on,
questions.
you'll ask if there's any questions.
Oh, sure.
I have a couple. The family has to request this as opposed to the school coming to you, pretty much?
And I said it verbally, Commissioner, how the narrative's written is more accurate than what I said verbally, is the family can absolutely request it, but the school could request it, the family has to consent. So, yes, that's certainly allowed, or an interested party could say, hey, I think you should really consider case management. If we had that intake and, you know, obviously had all the right releases of information, we'd reach out to parents and say, will you bless this? Is this okay with you? So they do have to kind of sign off on it, but schools can certainly make referrals too.
And another question, when the child is in community-based, do they still go to school, or?
And that's the huge advantage. I mean, this is the work I used to do, it seems like a lifetime ago, but yeah, those transitions from school, as we can all remember, it's funny how poignant that is to us, no matter how many years it's been, you know, especially a high school situation or even a junior high situation where you have a lot of apprehension about your friends, good and bad, how you fit in, how you get your support. If you pull a child, any child at any age, out of that situation, I think the vulnerability shoots through the roof and the volatility does as well. So now you've taken a child that's obviously struggling in probably a lot of areas of life and taken away all their supports, thrown them into another environment where they tend to, and I've worked in a lot of those facilities, rebond with all those people. And you pull them out of that, put them back, and it's awkward for them to go back to school.
Yeah.
So yes, we do everything we can to keep their continuity of their education, probably above almost anything, alive and well. And that is really hard to do virtually. I think the therapy pieces we can do virtually. And, you know, if they have a therapist, they can still meet, or like our case managers hit the road, and, you know, we pay a lot of mileage because they go and visit with them. And I think that's really important. It's a good investment to stay connected. So they have a lot of windshield time for that too.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that happens is when they expel a kid from school or suspend them because then they're home, and it gives them a lot of time to think about stuff.
Isn't that right? So you're doing horrible in school, and the solution is to pull them out of school.
Exactly. It makes no sense to me.
Right. And I know we have a lot of arguments with DHS about that too, is that sometimes if you're not doing well in your performance measures, they'll cut your money. And it's like, well, now you're going to make our situation, our gap a lot bigger if we're struggling already. And I think it's true at the individual level too. That's a really fair observation.
That's all I have.
Other questions for Phil? Okay, Kelly.
Morning.
Good morning, Kelly.
So it's nice to be back in this format.
It is.
Even with the email of telling him we were back in this format, I was having trouble visualizing, so it's been a while. So I'm going to start with some statistics. Excuse me. We have provided essential services to 129 families as of yesterday. That there's more people who were impacted by that, obviously families, college students who had roommates. Not all of the roommates were open, so the impact is even greater than 129. And again, essential services are the groceries and over-the-counter medication, prescription medications, housing, isolation, quarantine space that we try and work, set up for folks. As of yesterday, 63% of Minnesotans 16 and over were vaccinated with at least one dose of vaccine. 58%, or just over 32,000 Blue Earth County residents 16 and older have been vaccinated. So we're ahead percentage-wise versus some of the other counties in our region, and a little bit behind others. So everybody's at a little different point. We've done a lot of planning recently, looking at engaging in efficient, impactful vaccination efforts moving forward with public health. We continue to work with our jail staff and vaccinating and offering that opportunity to people residing in the jail. We were up there last week, vaccinated 23 people. And that was with the Janssen presentation, although moving forward, we will continue to offer Janssen when we have it, which is of course a 1-dose vaccine, and then also offer Moderna, which is a 2-dose vaccine. Even if the folks we vaccinate aren't there the second time we come up, one vaccine at least gets us a little farther down the road for some protection and for some immunity. We're continuing to provide assistance to the community, individuals, groups, employers. We get calls on a daily basis still with folks wondering how to get vaccinated, what the options are. I know one of my staff actually helped someone without technology register this week and provided her email as the reminder, so got them in very quickly to follow up on vaccine.
Can I ask a question on that? How do people sign up if they haven't been vaccinated? Where are their options? Can they go to Hy-Vee? Can they go to?
We have 16, I believe 16 different options in Blue Earth County. So all of our pharmacies, Hy-Vee, Cub, Thrifty White, the Lake Crystal Pharmacy, Walgreens, all are providing COVID-19 vaccinations, as are all 3 of our health systems, so Mankato Clinic, Mayo, Open Door. The state continues.
Is that all walk-in?
A lot of them have walk-in availability at this point. They'll advertise. I know the clinics are still reaching out and going through patients, especially with that age range since the last time we met, expanding to the 12 to 15-year-olds. So they've been doing a lot of outreach in clinics for that age group. And then, of course, the state still has their weekly vaccine clinic at Tuesdays down at the Mayo Event Center, and then we continue to provide options as well.
Good.
So that's a great thing.
Couple other questions. Is the state doing the 1 shot, or are they doing 2 shots? Or does it change every Tuesday?
The state has provided consistently Moderna presentation. The pharmacies do shift between the different presentations, so between Pfizer, Moderna, and Janssen, depending on what's available. They will sometimes offer like a Janssen clinic that will fill up, and then they will offer Moderna, so that people who are looking for different presentations, we have people who have a very strong preference for one or the other.
One more question, Mr. Chair. Are they doing any vaccinations in schools?
Mayo Clinic had Pfizer vaccine and has been able to go into the Mankato School District and offer vaccinations once a few weeks ago, and I believe this week or next week they are also going to be in the schools as well.
Good.
So they're able to, with Pfizer, the bonus is if the parents decide to get to be vaccinated, if they have not, they're able to vaccinate entire families.
That's great. I just think it makes it so much easier for everybody if they can go to school and just.
Right, very convenient.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, we'll continue to hold our clinics as well, smaller, more focused clinics, working with our community partners. Off-site clinics require all of the planning and logistics operations that change each time. So each time we're at a new venue. So while the vaccination rate has gone down, the pace continues to be pretty full as we work through different pieces of the response. But it's keeping us busy, but it was great to hear Phil talk about the face-to-face resuming with some of our more vulnerable community members, with some of the children in our community to get those up and going. So all of the efforts are coming to fruition and getting us a little bit back to baseline, which is great. And then lastly, I just wanted to bring to the board that MDH announced this week the closure of the testing center at the Gander Mountain site, but they are reopening in the Mayo Event Center the week of June 7th. So that's a nice consolidation as well.
And it's always on Tuesdays?
Yeah, the vaccine clinic is always on Tuesdays. I don't know for sure what the hours will be. I would have to look at that for the the testing.
The spit test.
The spit testing, yes.
Any other questions for Kelly or Phil?
Thank you, Mike.
Excellent.
Yes,
Thanks for all your
excellent.
work.
Your report.
Very
Thanks for
proud
your
of our
hard work.
Blue Earth County
Yes.
staff and how much they've done. The work that they put in, yourself have put in to make Blue Earth County healthy, and that's amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Make sure they understand that the board is very much appreciative of what they've been doing.
I pass that along every time, and we do appreciate it. They're an incredibly talented, hardworking group. I can't imagine doing this without them.
Yeah.
They're doing an awesome job.
For an undertaking of this magnitude, to have no negative comments at my level
Where's that
or our
wood?
level. But I got several, but they were all positive. You know, very efficient, didn't have to wait. I mean, just the things that we were targeting and getting done, so I appreciate that.
And no playbook, I mean, I really, being closer to it, that Kelly's just constantly chasing what's best. And normally we have something to go on. In this case, for well over a year, we've had nothing to go on. And maybe we're not quite out of the woods yet, but we're getting there and seeing light. It's nice.
Shifting,
Yes,
always
shifting.
changing. About every
Right.
2 weeks, we'd have a plan, and then it would shift. It'd be dramatic shifts. And
Better than
still-
every 2 hours. Like
Yeah, at times.
You guys are very nimble about it.
Yes, we were.
That's right. That's a good word.
You've done a great job.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you all. It's good
Thank
to
you.
see you within focus. So yes,
Have a great day, you guys.
Take care.
Do we want to finish up the agenda, or do you want to take a break for a few minutes? We got plenty of time, so.
I suppose we could take
All right, let's take a break till 10:15.
Okay.
a 15-minute break with that.
Welcome back, everyone. We will continue on our agenda. The first item we have under administration is some minutes.
Move the minutes, Landcamer.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Next, Mr. Chair, the bills for the 2 weeks indicated.
Stumer moved the bill.
Pap seconds.
Got a first and a second for the bills. Any questions that haven't been answered at this point?
You know, the only one I'm going to bring up is, just because I like to bring up the big amounts, is got a Mathwitz construction for $457,783. What road is that for? Which one?
That is County Road 27.
That's County Road 27.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to guess on a county road, just guess over by Eagle Lake, because they got them all tore up right
That's
now.
where they're all
Well, you know,
going.
the thing is, Mathwitz works all over the
Yeah.
county, so it's like, but good enough, that's all I had.
Any other questions on the bills? Okay, hearing none. I got a motion and a second for the bills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have number 7 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We do have 2 action items for the board's consideration this morning. First is renewal of the health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield effective July 1st of this year through June 30th of 22. I can tell the board that with this renewal, we're looking at a 4.64% increase. We've appreciated USI's help in negotiating these rates. They've certainly been able to work with Blue Cross to kind of analyze the renewal data and keep those increases at relatively reasonable levels. Obviously, healthcare costs are increasing at a higher rate than inflation. You know, the trend is probably in that 7 to 9% increase level. So to have an increase here of less than 5% is encouraging. I will tell you a couple other things to note about our Blue Cross coverage. We have continued to stay with the fully insured plans in terms of COVID treatment coverage. Blue Cross has typically provided that without a copay or co-insurance requirement, and so we've had our self-insured plan continue to kind of ride along with those fully insured plans. We also have been providing some additional training and education as part of our open enrollment period, which is just kind of wrapping up here now for our new plan year, and so we're making some extra efforts to help our employees
better understand the health care coverage that we have. We have been hearing some concerns at the negotiating table about the cost of health insurance, and so that is a concern for our employee groups, but as gets mentioned at those meetings frequently, is we're all in this together, and so it's in all of our best interest to try and manage those health care costs as best we can. As a part of an effort to keep our costs low, we have reinstituted the insurance committee and have representation from each of our bargaining groups, and so hopefully through those discussions we'll continue to be able to manage those health care costs in a way that are beneficial to everyone. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have on this particular item.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I'm really glad you reinstituted the committee, because I think that information is power sometimes, and they can explain why to their unions, as opposed to you explaining it.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep. You want to take these separately or together?
I would prefer them separately,
Okay.
please.
I'll move approval of the health insurance.
Second it.
Got a first and a second for renewal of health insurance with Blue Cross. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next action item is authorization to initiate recruitment for an Amtrak coordinator position. This looks like a new position. It's really a cleanup of an error that has been discovered in our budget. Historically, we've had 2 part-time Amtrak positions that work with our Joint Powers Board. Both of them were half-time positions. Well, in the course of some reorganization within the public health unit, they wanted to kind of get things established in a way that they brought in some case aid support, and then they wanted to fill a full-time position. So basically taking those 2 part-time positions, combine them into one position. It ultimately got into the 21 budget that way, but it really should have gone through a new position request process that would have come through the board. And so there is some additional cost associated with increasing the 2 part-time positions to a full-time position. They will utilize this role in a case management function as well as in the Amtrak area, and so we'll be able to earn some additional revenue that'll offset that increased cost. So a lot of movement around, adjusting things, but at the end of the day, same FTE count that we have in the budget currently. We'll have revenue to offset the increased costs, but I needed to clean it up with the board in terms of getting your authorization for this position so we can initiate recruitment to fill it.
Okay, any questions for Bob on the Amtrak coordinator? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second by Studer.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries for the Amtrak coordinator.
So under information items then, we have filled, a registered nurse in our mental health center. We've also filled an accountant in the public works department. We did receive a resignation of a probation officer, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. We also received a resignation of a senior account clerk in our finance department, so we've initiated recruitment to fill that position. There also was a resignation of a lieutenant in the sheriff's department, so we've initiated recruitment to fill that position. Then had a resignation of a social worker that does our intake work in the human services department, so we've initiated recruitment to fill that position. Another resignation of a 911 dispatcher, so we've initiated recruitment to fill that position. And then I think the last resignation is a correctional officer in the jail, and so we've initiated recruitment to refill that position. Then we also had a number of positions where you've seen the resignations in prior reports, but because of the additional review we're doing, those weren't quite ready to bring forward on the last agenda, and so now we've initiated recruitment to fill a property and environmental resources specialist position, a library clerk, program coordinator in our public health area, and a probation officer in community corrections. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have on this lengthy list.
What are we doing, run out of letters?
We'll double them up.
It's getting to be a long list, but it is what it is. We got a big operation here, and it takes a lot to operate it. Any questions or comments on the? Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 8 in your packet is a memo regarding the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. We have 3 individuals who currently are on the County Board of Appeal and Equalization who have terms that expire this year. All 3 individuals have expressed a desire to seek another term on the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. So staff are recommending reappointment of Mr. Mike Miller, Mr. Dick Norland, and Mr. Dan Wingert to the County Board of Appeal and Equalization.
Pat moves.
People will second.
Got a first and a second for the new reappointments. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment. I think it's really important to have these experts on the Board of Appeals. I think that was a really good move that was made a long time ago because they really understand this process.
Yep.
So thank you.
Ditto.
Any other comments?
We'll just say ditto.
Hearing none, I have a motion and a second for the reappointments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 9 in your packet is a memo regarding the Violent Crime Enforcement Grant Agreement. This is an amendment to the Violent Crime Enforcement Grant, which basically is funding for our drug task force. The state is providing an additional $10,000 to support the work in that office, and so we're recommending approval of this grant agreement.
Stewart, Pat moves.
Klinkhammer seconds.
Got a first and a second for the grant. Any discussion? Always encouraging to get a little more money for programs like that.
Always important to keep up on top of that too.
Mhm.
You don't want to fall lax on something like that.
If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries for the Violent Crime Enforcement Grant. That looks like that brings me to the bottom of my agenda, other than committee reports. Bob, do you have anything else for us?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
All right, at this time we'll do committee reports, and I'll start with you, Mark.
All right, I think on May 11th, we had our county board meeting, and afterwards we had a Public Works larger committee looking at our Public Works projects, or our new buildings. May 12th, you and I had our MICA board meeting, and maybe the next one will be in person, but it was in rundown again, and the 12th on the legislative session was happening, and the big grand get together between the big parties there, and we'll see what happens with the budget and everything. May 18th, we had our county board work session, and then on the 19th, I did have Minnesota the Valley Council of Governments, our assembly outside in Janesville, and that was really that was pretty cool because yeah, we didn't have to wear masks and everything. It was a beautiful day. And May 22nd, as with others, we did go to the community farm and the new location and inaugurated that. And some of us even were a little well, maybe we're in florists, but we did plant some flowers.
You did very good too, buddy.
That pretty much concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Kevin?
Since the May 11th board meeting has already been mentioned, the work session, AMC legislative update, community farm open house, participated with other commissioners. I attended the Greater Blue Earth River Basin Policy Board meeting, as well as had new commissioner training on May 19th, and has been mentioned more than a couple times today how proud we are of our Blue Earth County staff. I just want to thank Bob for his help in presenting to all the new commissioners on budgets. That was very well received. Thank you for that. Yesterday had Rural Minnesota Energy Board, and have met with staff and others concerning the Amboy Library and some Highway 60 improvements in Lake Crystal. For upcoming events, I plan to participate on the ISG Ag Drainage Spring Field Tour tomorrow on May 26th. That ends my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Vance?
Well, on the 11th, after our board meeting, I had a NACO transportation Zoom meeting. On the 12th, I had a community corrections Zoom meeting. Getting excited that these Zoom meetings will come to an end here soon, but some of them are good.
Well, they'll still have their place.
Some of them are very good. On the 17th, I had a Transportation Alliance Legislative Committee meeting with Commissioner Landcamer was on there with me. We had our work session on the 18th, and let's see, on the 19th, we had an AMC post-regular session webinar. And then I had a community farm Zoom meeting later on that evening. On the 20th, I believe Commissioner Landcamer and myself were on the Minnesota-Germany Climate Smart Municipalities Zoom. And that was really interesting. You're talking about what they're doing in Germany with climate smart, using solar power and using, different things. And it was interesting how they had a really good translator that almost translated verbatim. It was right now, as the lady is talking, you're hearing the translator, so that was pretty good. Later on, I had Transportation Alliance Board of Directors meeting, and on the 21st, on Friday, we had a Board of Directors meeting for AMC. On Saturday, I went and visited with the food distribution that our SHIP people and Feeding Our Community Partners are doing. It was over at Prairie Winds, and I did a tour through there, and the lineup, they really have it down there almost as good as our people giving our shots. I mean, it's just really professional. And then, of course, we had the open house for the Blue Earth County Community Farm, and I want to thank, Commissioner Pat, Commissioner Pifo, and then we had former Commissioner Purvis that was there also. We also had Senator Friends showed up, and so and it was well received. And if anybody has not been out to the garden farm over by Weagle Park, please go out there. It's really taken shape, and it's something that the county can really be proud of. Let me see here. That's about all I've done. I picked up some more cardboard yesterday for the community farm over at Feeding Our Community Partners, and I'm learning more about gardening this year than I have for years, even though I've been on the board of that. But we have some very, very good people that are handling this now, and we can be proud of it. But thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you, Vance. Clean.
On the 3rd, I had NACO Finance, Pensions, and Intergovernmental Affairs. Talked about the ARP program and also the elections. there's so much controversy going on, and actually on the election subcommittee, which I sit on, we have Maricopa County also there. There's only 6 of us. The Maricopa County Board came out, and not to get partisan, but there are 5 Republicans, 1 Democrat on that board, and they came out unanimously and told their legislature that they were done properly and they should just quit this. So I'm really proud of the Maricopa County Board of Commissioners. The elections were done properly. Anyway, on the 5th, we had the AMC conversation in the morning, and then I had Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership and Recruitment, and then a board meeting for Southwest after that recruitment meeting. On the 11th, NACO is doing these calls frequently about ARP and what Treasury's doing. And then I got a call from the person who's doing our audit asking me a bunch of questions about fraud. We don't see any fraud, but they have to ask somebody on the board every year. So I did that. The 13th and 14th, we had AMC Futures. And then after that goes 2 days. And then after that, I had a Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs meeting again. 17th, as Vance said, Transportation Legislative Committee. The 18th, the work session. The 19th, the AMC legislative thing. And I kind of wondered why I got on it, because not much happened in the legislature. We'll see what happens if they get all their ducks in a row to come back and pass some things. The German Climate Summit was fascinating.
That was fun.
They talked about green hydrogen, which I'd never even heard of before. And it's a partnership with the University of Minnesota. Dave Senjum, the senator, has done this. He's been there about 10 times to Germany, and it's a great partnership. And asked if we'd continue to meet with them, and both Vance and I said yes. The 21st, AMC board, I sent you out what happened at the AMC board. The 24th, yesterday, the futures, and everyone was invited. Susan Brower, the state demographer, talked about the census and the challenges that we're all going to have with the census. Supposedly, we're supposed to get by September 30th the numbers for our county, but they're very concerned that the count wasn't complete. For instance, they started counting when all our college students, because of COVID, had gone home. So that's a big chunk of our community that may not have been counted. If they lived on campus, they were counted. But if they lived in apartments around the community, it's real possible that they were not counted. So everybody's really concerned about the count, and it doesn't happen again for 10 years. So what you get is what you get. This morning I had Airport Commission, and just a couple things that you might want to think about. City Council last night decided to, you see by schools, you know, the school zone 20 between 7:30 and 8:30 and 11 and 12. They're going to change all that. Anytime there's a child in a school zone, it's 20. So they said if you're going 30 through a school zone and there's a kid white across the street, you're going to get a ticket. So I think it's just getting used to it. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's important. And there's usually a child somewhere around there. So all the school zones will be 20 if there are any children around.
24/7? Or during school hours?
Well, I think it's 24/7 because their comment was, you know, lots of times on weekends there's soccer games going on, baseball games, you know, all that stuff. And they'll be enforcing it at that point. So I thought that was good to know. August 15th is the flight breakfast. It's $10 a head. and to eat breakfast. And the air show, they're looking at 2023. And
When
we're
is
going to do the road in 22, so.
That's why you had that interest.
Yeah. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you for that report, Colleen.
Thank you.
Most of the stuff I was at was already mentioned. I'll start with the Public Works Building. Mark and I are on that committee, and they gave a presentation to us, which we will see in June, the full board, sometime in June. They're finalizing some stuff, but we got kind of a sneak peek of it. Micah, yeah, we just did our regular business, got the update from all the lobbyists, and hopefully we'll be back and maybe meeting in person next time around. Hard to say. Been working with my statewide emergency communication board, with my legislative work group and my legislative committee. Got a lot of things going on there. We have another meeting this week. Sat in on a HSA thing that Laura and the staff put on to just kind of answer questions about the HSA. And I knew most of it, but there were some interesting things in there that I picked up on what you can do with the account. So that was very informative, and they did a great job. And they had, I think, 20 or 30 people on it, so they had some interest in it. So good to see that we're reaching out to our employees and trying to explain that stuff to them. Had my MVAC meeting. I got elected as the president again for the next 2 years. So that was exciting. But we are, I think I'll term out though, so I won't be able to sit on any officers because I've been in vice president and the president for quite a while. And Joe McCabe, who was the secretary and has done a great job. He was the president, vice president, but he termed out for everything. But he's going to stay on the committee, so that's good to hear. But we're just doing business as usual up there. We had a lot of day-to-day stuff we had to deal with. Work session was mentioned, and we had a chairmanship meeting for our SECB meeting that we have on Thursday. And that brings me up to today. Anything else for the good of the order? Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to recess to Buster's Bar at 11:30 for lunch.
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thanks.